Hello, Mr. Magno. How are you doing?
Okay, I'm doing fine.
Okay.
I thought we might discuss what we were doing during the class, the those principles that have to do with the magnetic mind and the intelligence and reason. But on second thought, I thought you might have questions of your own, and then we can always do the ones we studied earlier today, maybe next time.
Okay, sounds good. I'll look into that. So my first question today is, who is Gil Magno?
Who is Gil Magno? That's a very difficult question. Gil Magno is a good man. Gil Magno is a man that suffered a lot. Not in terms of pain, physical pain, but inward terms. And Gil Magno is very lucky in that he had a father that initiated him into all these things that we've been discussing. And I like Gil Magno. That's enough for now.
Well, who are some of your influences, and can you talk about these people that really made a difference in your life and what you learned from them?
Well, my father, number one, he was a master, wonderful man. When he was getting ready to leave to the United States, he went around the house with a piece of chalk and he wrote on the ladder on top of the well, he wrote, "Your three best friends are sun, air, and water." He's a great man. He initiated me into this work when I was 6 years old. He told me, anytime that you want something, really want something, go off by yourself, say a little prayer, close your eyes, and visualize. See in your mind exactly what you want as clearly as possible. I did that. I would go into the banana patch and I'd put my head on my hands against the banana tree and I would visualize this car, little car that I could sit in and pedal. And within 3 weeks, I think, someone that my grandmother worked for gave her such a car. And I was a changed person. All my life I have used that technique.
So this technique
One,
would be if there's something that I would like to have, I would go to a quiet place and visualize it.
yeah, it's the same as we've done with the mirror or with the written affirmations. And you can do read the affirmations morning and night or once a day, whenever you want to,
So how often did you visualize it?
or just once a day for a few minutes. I was a child, 6 years old, but I really wanted that car. The beautiful thing about it is that I ended up doing that all my life. I could go example after example, but it just, it happens.
Okay, now getting back to your influences, is there any influences out there that the general people that are watching this could be influenced by that influence you, those people?
If they could what?
could be inspired by them as well.
Oh,
Who would
well,
you say those people are?
yeah, I didn't finish telling you all the people.
Right. Yeah, I know we can only get to, maybe the top three. So your
Yeah,
father was number one, right?
one. Number two is my godfather, who was blind from the age of 2 years old. He was a genius. And at that age, from 10 to 13, I would walk with him downtown, sit in the park in the island of Madeira, and I would read to him books that were way above my head, like The Last Days of Pompeii, Quo Vadis. These are heavy books for a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. I loved them. And the influence of reading those books remained with me all of my life. And they helped to add values to me that made me a rebel concerning the 85% out there which care about nothing.
Now, other than your father and who was that? Your
Krishnamurti
Krishnamurti? Okay.
is number three. And the main reason why I like him so much, I used to see him in person in Ojai, California. And I have two anecdotes about him also. The main reason why I like Krishnamurti is that he didn't make me think like him. He just discussed. And he told everyone, everything you learn, you are your own teacher and disciple. Don't join organizations. And one time I was in Ojai, and I happened to be sitting right in front of the little stage outside. This was outside, full of trees, and people came from all over, and they'd sit on the ground. And I was sitting, it just happened that I had room to sit right in front of him. And he was talking about Egypt. He was talking about the aberrations that went on in the old religions of Egypt. It so happens that I used to belong to an organization that had its roots in Egypt. And I was wondering, I was about to lose the faith I had because he was mentioning this. And then as he was talking, he looked straight at me as if to ask, why aren't you agreeing? I couldn't believe it. He never looked at anyone. He always looked at everybody as a group. So I was really moved by that.
So what'd you get out of that though? He's looking at you as to say, oh, why are you agreeing? But yet he is.
Why are you disagreeing?
Oh, disagreeing.
Yeah.
And but his way was for you to think for yourself, right?
That's right. He just was wondering why I felt the way I did. That's all. And the other time was I was living in Van Nuys, California, and I went to bed to sleep, as I did every night. And during the night, the room filled up with that familiar, friendly light. And Krishna, I didn't see him, but I felt his presence in the room, and he was saying goodbye to me. The next day, I couldn't believe it, because anytime that light came, I would have a great respect for that light. Great inspiration. Second night, same thing, a little less, but same thing. He was saying goodbye to me. And well, I was much younger, so I should have did some investigation, but I wrote it down in my diary. I wrote everything that happened to me in my diary. I got many in there in that closet. So I went into the diary later, and I went into his website, and he died on the same day where I felt that thing, that euphoria in the room.
Now, did you do anything to bring on that euphoria, or did that just happen?
I did nothing to bring it on, other than the fact that I had a great love for him, a great admiration. I still do. He was a little man. He didn't eat animals like I don't. That's another thing of mine. What goes on in these companies that kill animals, and people eat them without thinking. And I liked him for all those things.
Okay. Now I'd like to talk about something that you say quite frequently. And you speak about words that are like crystallized thought. Can you talk about how you use words and how they impact your life?
First of all, I don't use words in any particular way. Otherwise, I would be maintaining my ego.
Okay, but what about like in affirmations?
No, with one thing at a time.
Okay.
I did not finish with that one yet. The it's not that I use them that way. Words are crystallized thought. That's all. So, if a person loves himself enough to believe what he is all about, then every word that comes out of his mouth is automatically accepted by others, or the majority of others. So that's the first answer. It's not that you don't have a lot of people. I've had a lot of students, even voice students, who develop a good voice, a good quality voice. And they often ask me, well, how can I use this as a salesman? How can I be more this or more than that, more that? And there's always this to be the best. This thing, you got to fight for the front, for the top. So you don't use it that way. You develop yourself. You eliminate as much as possible the aberrations of life and the lies of life. And of course, technically, as I spoke to you about before, technically, you have to do certain things, like there are certain exercises that make your voice stronger. That you have to do. And for that, you have to have a teacher. But to speak and impress others, you just have to be real. That is all. and love yourself, but not in a pompous way. Some people love themselves, but it ain't true because they really don't down deep inside. The ego is as big as the Empire State Building. So we, and that is one of the purpose of the path of head knowledge, we want to get to this point where we are who we are. And you're not ashamed of it, you're not afraid of it, and you say it like it is. Now, some things better remain not said because that 85% out there, the herd, could hurt you. And that's why I never define the lies. Maybe some of the little ones. I don't talk about them. I'll let each student figure out what they are. For example, smoking cigarettes is a big lie. It comes from a lie. That's an easy one. There's no danger in that because everybody wants to give up smoking. That's a good, that shows they're going in the right direction.
Okay, I have some final questions, and I would like you to imagine you were asking yourself these questions. Okay, so the first question is, you ask yourself, what is the purpose of life? What would you say?
The purpose of life in general or your own purpose?
I would say your own purpose.
Okay, my purpose is to create. That's the first thing. And I create as a teacher. If you will read what I wrote about my purpose in life, which I framed and put on the wall out there, I think I've showed it to you, right?
Yeah.
It says one word. My purpose is teaching. That's it. Now, don't get mixed up with what I said about Krishnamurti claiming that we are our own disciples and teachers. We are. Teaching is knowing how to use. There's two types of teaching. There is a technical aspect that you've got to have somebody, you have to tell someone, open the throat, do this, do that, bring the sound forward. That's all technical. That mostly, certainly need a teacher. But when it comes to this type of work that we're doing, living itself, being real, you follow no one. You listen to what the teacher says and see if it's true for you. Try it out. See if it's true. And the reason why society is so backward in general is because they don't think for themselves. They follow the leader, like the blind following the blind. And that's the whole thing.
Okay, now the second question you ask yourself is, who am I?
Well, you already asked me that. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was, what would you, if you were asking yourself this, what would you briefly state?
If I was asking myself.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think a great deal about it. I did in the past. I know that I am happiest when I create and when I see other people use what I have taught them to create also. So that's who I am, a teacher.
The next question would be, you ask yourself, where did I come from? What would your response be?
Well, I have many stories about that. They wouldn't make any sense to anybody.
But if you were writing this down in a journal, what would you briefly write in a short amount of time?
That's the American disease. Nobody has time. Everybody's rushing. Rush.
Yeah, but I'm not asking you to rush. I'm just saying if you spent some time each day and you thought about these things, which you have talked about thinking about these things, what would you write when you ask yourself that question? Where did I come from?
Well, I can't tell you exactly, but I know I've lived before. I was regressed one time and I cried for the whole 5 hours. Pretty heavy. I've had students whom I regressed. One girl in particular who had cancer. She doesn't have cancer anymore. Same thing happened. And that never had happened with another person, and because she threw herself on the floor. And I had to continue talking to her and using EFT on her. And suddenly, she just got up. She said, "Okay, I got it all. I understand. I understand now." So I would say I have lived before. And that's about all I can tell you about that one.
Right. Okay. Well, is there anything that you would like to close with?
Yeah, I would like to close with the idea of knowledge and wisdom.
Okay.
I find that most students on the path get confused because they study superficially. They read, and reading is not the same as studying. So you not only read, but you must think about it and apply it. And as you apply it, you get the wisdom which is necessary to think for yourself. So I would like to leave you with that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I'll see you next time.
Okay.